president of Act Bold Media Group. We're a digital marketing agency, and we have three amazing panelists here, and I think we're incredibly lucky to have them, especially at such an intimate gathering. So I think we really lucked out, and let's start, please. Serena, why don't we start with you, because you have the mic, yeah.
Sure. So my name is Serena Ehrlich. You can follow me on Twitter at Serena. I am not Serena Williams. I am not Serena from Gossip Girl. Let me just tell you what people think about me. No. I work for Business Wire. We're a commercial newswire service. So when we talk about press release tips and digital tips, I'm actually going to give you tips that we're giving our clients and things that we're actually seeing impact in the press release distribution world. So I'm super excited to be here. If you have any questions, if I screw up, it's her fault.
My name is Kessler, and I'm Director of Public Relations for the Four Seasons Hotel, Los Angeles at Beverly Hills. And I've been working in hotel PR for 14 years, and it's been interesting to see before social media to how everything has come to fruition and all the new programs and all of that. So I'm excited to give you some tips from the hotel world.
Hi, I'm Heather Wong, and I'm with Corporate Communications at Sprint. And specifically, I support our local retail team. So that's using public relations and social media to drive traffic to our retail stores and increase sales.
Amazing. Do you guys like your training program? Just out of curiosity.
The training program.
Training, right?
Oh, yes. Actually,
Can I trade one?
you can.
So a quick fact, my team wrote that software, the training program that you use in the Sprint stores. Just a quick fact.
Any, oh,
They
sorry.
complained about it.
I just wanted to see if she was complaining. That's why I asked that first. All right. Anyways, let's start with what is working and what isn't working. I think press is something that everybody just loves, and personally, I know even myself, who's in the marketing space, we love it so much, and but it's what works, what's working, what's not working. Go ahead, start.
Okay.
Please.
So I actually want to preface by saying that even though, this topic is on getting press using digital tools, and the media is evolving away from print onto online, there's no better tactic than building and having relationships with the bloggers and the influencers and the media that you want to cover your business. So I actually came up with 4 tools that we use at Sprint that is related to online and digital that we use when we do our media outreach. First is multimedia releases, and that's using video and infographic, and Serena is actually the expert in this space, and she'll be able to talk more about that.
Right, I'm out. That's all she has to say, guys. I'm not kidding. That's huge in ROI.
Yes, and I'll let Serena talk about that more because she really is the expert, and we use Business Wire to get our multimedia releases out. But the other thing is, the second thing is with our online newsroom, it's more than just a place where we house our press releases. We actually have enhanced that recently, and we have a Sprint blog, which we call Sprint Perspectives, and that's a place where our executives or our subject matter experts go in and talk about a certain topic. And it's not a news announcement, it's more, for us, it's maybe an update about our network build out or a new device that we just came out with. So that's, really that's a supplemental way to get your message out. And then the other thing that we have is an online press kit. So that's a place where we house our images and videos, and it's a really quick and easy way for media to go and grab an image of a device that they want. So they don't have to come to me to ask, oh, can I have a picture of their latest phone, for example. So that's really important to have something that's very accessible for the media. In our newsroom, we also have feature articles. And feature articles are different than press releases, where they are written in journalistic style. So it's not a press release where we have hyperlinks to our URL or a boilerplate where that's the about Sprint section. It's not jargony. It's very much written like what you would read in a newspaper or a magazine. So we write that for media to actually grab and really use that content. So those are ways that we expand our online newsroom. The third thing that we use for digital is our Sprint community. So this is an external website. It's community.sprint.com, where our subscribers and anybody who's interested in Sprint can come in and ask questions and really have an interaction with each other about their devices, about our network, about our plans, anything they want related to Sprint. We also use that channel to post news. So we do social media releases, and those are a little bit different than traditional media releases, where it's, again, not jargony, it's bite-sized pieces for media to use and bloggers.
What's a bite-sized piece? Can you guys give me a bite-sized piece?
A lot of bullet points, not long paragraphs, sound bites. We include videos on there. Bloggers love it because it's very conversational, and an average Joe can understand what we want to announce on there. So we use our Sprint community in that way to get our news out. And then the final thing, it's not really a digital tool, but something I think would be useful for any business. We have a program called Social Media Ninjas, and that's where we use our employees as ambassadors. We have official Sprint Twitter handles, official Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn, but a lot of it is very corporate speak. We go through a lot of red tape to post anything, legal's involved, but when we use our ambassadors, our employees really, they're reaching their own community, their own family, friends, and neighbors in their own words to talk about our new device, or to talk about our new plan, or whatever we want to share.
And that has huge conversion factors. Word of mouth, when your employees advocate for you, they show that is much higher conversion than their business tweets.
And that's been a really successful program for us. We actually have a training for our social media ninjas, and they're very transparent that they're a Sprint employee.
Do you compensate them for that?
No, they're just our employees. They're our product ambassadors, and they believe in the company.
Cool.
So that's it.
Thank you. Kim, please.
So from our perspective, I also believe that the key is to establish strong relationships with the online journalists from trust.
How do we start that?
So,
I mean, all of us would love to know the guy who writes the New York Times or LA Times.
well, I think
These
part
best
of it
friends.
is attending appropriate events. So if you're in the fashion world, go to, if you can go to magazine events or different events at, other venues where you can meet the people. I think face-to-face, to meeting them in person is key, and starting to establish the relationship that way versus just sending an email. I think, it'll get lost in the shuffle. So I, for instance, go twice a year to New York to meet with all the journalists, both print and top online media, and have one-on-one meetings, and that just goes such a long way. Even if you don't have something huge to promote at the moment, just having that relationship, and then you can, a few months later, when you have something really newsworthy to talk about, you send the email to them, and they'll be much more responsive. So I think whenever possible, attending other seminars, events, whatever you can do to meet people in person, I think is more effective than just sending an email. And also networking with them online, so following them on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and becoming, and then when you see them in person, also you can reference, I saw you were just in Tanzania, and go on about, wherever they've been in the world. And I think that helps with engagement. Or top cocktail bloggers, following them on Instagram, and like Carolyn, I'm correct, Carolyn, pretty good. And, we're in the travel world, Johnny Jet. And, I think really knowing who the influencers and media are online is key.
Does it have to be a strategy when you're actually going about contacting these people? Because, like, for example, Nicole gets used, because she has so many followers and so many emails, I'm assuming, that come to her on a daily basis, how can you develop that relationship if she's almost untouchable?
Well, if she's untouchable, you could find out who her publicist is and go through her publicist and pitch. Try to set up a relationship directly, but also in knowing who, what your brand is compared, and if it's relevant to her blog and what she would want to cover. I think that's also key. So in the world of Four Seasons, we have to really make sure we're just targeting luxury bloggers and journalists overall that, are relevant for the brands.
And also, don't forget to reach out to second-tier bloggers. Don't go after the Robert Scobles and the bigwigs. Go after the second-tier ones. They actually tend to get more advocacy, and people tend to retweet them as you're growing. When you're a blogger or a reporter and you're growing your influence, you tend to have your friends helping support you, and you tend to get much more visibility and more retweets of news. So if a second-tier blogger tweets you and a big top-tier blogger tweets you, you might find that the second-tier blogger, that tweet had much more reach because people are more likely to share because they're still growing and they're still very audience-specific versus once they get larger, they become an organization, corporation.
And I would also say to develop beyond just, for Four Seasons, we have FF Los Angeles and Colina LA for our restaurant handles. But personally, I'm on Instagram as Vegan Travelista and my Facebook, and try to develop like an interesting personality that way and through the travels and different dining experiences around the world that I have. I find that it makes me more relevant for the journalists that I'm pitching to and developing relationships with because they feel like they can relate to me. So trying to develop your own brand essentially within working with another brand, I think is important. And then, and then also, I just wanted to also mention with Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts, when I began with the company, coming from a competitor company, I noticed how they're so forward with social media. We were the first hotel in the Four Seasons Los Angeles to have a social media manager on property in the brand, and the brand was the first major hotel brand to have a Pinterest presence. So I think it's just so important when you're working with companies. The former company that I worked with, we had to literally, I was at a hotel in Maui and I had to pitch corporate and said if this is newsworthy, that they would put it on their Twitter, but we weren't allowed to have our own Twitter handle for the hotel. So I thought, it's just interesting how things have evolved in different companies moving forward.
Serena, would you mind starting with what's not working?
Actually, can I gotta go back. I will get to that. Let me go back really quickly, and I'm going to speak really fast because this is how I talk. I have a lot to say. All right, there's two things to realize. One, coverage. The number one metric for every media outlet out there that has an online presence, those reporters are now being paid or bonused on views of their articles. So to get coverage, every time you get coverage, it is your job to share that coverage out. What happens every single month at every single publication out there, they look at the metrics of all the stories written in that month, and they look to see which stories have the most traffic. And if your story has the most traffic, surprise, surprise, they will write about you again. If your story has the least traffic, you're done. So the number one way to get coverage is to share your coverage. In addition, let's also remember that coverage now includes much more than articles, which is I think where you were going as well. It can be reposts of Instagram posts, it can be retweets. So coverage now is a whole thing. Lastly, the reason you want coverage is back to what you had said, which is, just so you guys know, 67% of consumers trust coverage. 84% of consumers trust coverage that has been shared by an influencer. So when you get an article written about you, you have to share that out because the people sharing that out past you are bringing in much higher conversion factors. So now here's your actual tactics. Click-to-tweet.com. In your press releases, in your blogs, in your content, it's a free service, click-to-tweet.com. It allows you to fill out a pre-written tweet. It will give you a link, and you put that link in your blog. Especially if you have statistics in your press release or statistics in your blog. Stats travel very quickly in social. So just put tweet this at the end of each one of these stat points or in the middle of your press release, like this news, tweet it. Nobody opened your press release unless they cared about you. Once that release is open, it's like a grocery store. You've got them inside the store, they're shopping their aisles. So give them something to do, let them share it out. Quick tweet. Add multimedia, absolutely. Think about it. Every social media statistic that's coming out these days on how to get higher ROI on social is adding multimedia. Press is exactly the same. There is not one single web outlet out there that publishes a story with no image. You're not providing that image, you're delaying that reporter in writing that story. Also, time on site, they all get paid by ad revenues. It's impressions ads, so it's the number of times they can serve ads on a page. You give a journalist a 30-second video to accompany your story, you're keeping people on the site longer. They made money because of you. You want to be written about by media. You have to. It's past just being their friends. It's sharing their news. It's helping them meet their metrics. Also, blogging, absolutely an unbelievable thing to do. You issue a press release, put up a blog that answers every question the media is going to ask you, and they will copy and paste your answers. And what do you now have? Message permeation. Make it easier. Reporters are moving very, very fast. They want the scoop, give them multimedia, give them a pre-written FAQ blog. And then what you want to do is and then also think highly targeted. We are no longer past the days of sending, we are way past the days, by the way. I mean, you've heard all of this. Email marketing, what sells in email marketing? Customization. Press releases are the same way. You have to write highly targeted press releases. It's no longer about, no one's gonna understand my widget, so I'm gonna write some fluffy, non-technical press release and hope that converts. Concentric marketing, PR is exactly the same way. You write a highly targeted release, you activate your target audience, and you let them take your message out for you. But your target audience is not going to care about your news at all if you're writing your news for these people. You may take multiple press releases, but you have to write for your specific audience. And those are my points. But now you want to tell you what's not working?
Yes. What should we not do?
So you guys, please, and I can't say this enough, it's the first thing I wrote, text-only press releases. The world, 65% of human beings and 65% of all the people in the world are visual learners. Think about this. I'm textual, I'm highly textual. You send me a YouTube link, I'll never watch it. I've probably watched less than 25 YouTube links in my entire life. I'm a text person, but my sister is a video person. My sister only watches video. So until YouTube came around 13 years ago, there wasn't video on the web. Now there's video on the web. Now that 65% of visual learners have a place to go. If you're speaking in text only, and 65% of the world is video, you're kind of screwed. You're literally choosing not to pitch half your audience, or 65% of the world. Social media pitches, randomly pitching people on Twitter, doesn't really work. However, if you have a relationship with someone on Twitter, you already know that they were in Tanzania, you could send them a note saying, hey, I know you're at the airport, I have big news, would you tweet it out for me? You can ask for tweets, but don't just blindly social media pitch. It kind of became a little bit of a fad a few years ago, and reporters think it's really creepy. If you want to get reporters to like you, join the media chats. There are hashtag journalist chats all day long. Twitter just came out in the last month and recommitted.
Can you talk about that? What is that? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. And so Facebook just launched FB Newswire, and these are both exactly the same idea, where Twitter came to the National Newspaper Association and recommitted. And basically what Twitter is going to be doing is they're going out and meeting with media outlets and with journalists to teach media how to use Twitter. Twitter and Facebook are not creating newswire services. Twitter and Facebook are trying to work with media to make news sharing happen faster. Why? Because news sharing is the number one thing that happens on social networks. It's news sharing. It doesn't matter what you think is news. You could think Beyonce's album dropping is news, or you could think, what's happening in the Middle East is news. Everybody loves news, and news travels. And every social network, read about it. Everybody's focusing on news. So Twitter has said, not only are they going to increase the size of photos, they're going to make it easier for bylines to show up when journalists tweet out their articles. Facebook is actively curating all the content that's being shared on Facebook. This is the FB Newsline that just launched. And they have their own accounts to show media outlets the fastest place where they can go and see the top news on Facebook. It's going to be Facebook's version of Reddit. You guys all know Yahoo's front page is just Reddit. Anyway, there's a lot going on in the media space, but all of this is designed to drive traffic and news sharing. So you have every media outlet out there, you have every social network working with the media to get them to share their news on Twitter. You've got to be in there with them as well. And then the last thing I had is unsupported content launches are the stupidest thing you could possibly do. Do not waste your time to write a white paper and then don't do a PR push to launch it. Do you know how many major campaigns have been credited to social media viral successes? They all have PR behind it. Don't just think, when somebody comes to you and says, how does this go viral? Or your boss, this has to go viral. There's no such thing as viral. Viral is a very smart PR team behind it that kept their mouth shut when social media got all the credit. There's no such thing as viral at all. And then do not keyword or link stuff your releases. Google will penalize you for that. That was part of the Hummingbird update. You want to just make sure that your keywords should not be phrases, but they should actually be, they shouldn't be words, they should be phrases your customers search for you. And then again, you just want relevant hyperlinks in your news content. You put too many links in there, Google will absolutely ding you.
All right.
Wait, we got more.
Recap. Ready?
Wait, we got more
I
negatives.
know.
Well, I just have
More
other
no-nos.
suggestions actually. I would also say to invest in a high quality camera or hire a great photographer. It makes the world of difference. For our restaurant, Colina Modern Italian, when we first launched, we had the lady who did Thomas Keller's book come in and do all the food photography, and it made such a world of difference for our website and also for PR and for when we're pitching magazines and online. And so I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I'll tell you on a side note, we hire amateur photographers all the time for clients. It's really not expensive. It's crazy how not expensive it is actually. There happens to be a lot of starting photography.
There's like a mental fear.
Yeah.
There's a mental fear against content, but you're exactly right. We live in Hollywood. Do you know how many people are out of work because of that Hollywood strike? There are so many content creators, photographers, videographers, writers.
I'm talking like a couple $100,
Yeah.
$200-$300.
Just
You
roll
get-
rock.
Yeah.
And some of them
Sorry.
work in trade
Sorry,
as well,
Rocky.
depending on what your client is. So we work a lot with trade when possible.
Well, I'm sure everybody here would be willing to trade services for rooms at the Four Seasons.
It's on TV.
And just to add one more thing, I think the pattern that we're hearing here is that there is no one specific pattern or one specific tactic that will work. It's not just a press release. Like when you're announcing a product or whatever your news is, there's so many different channels, whether it's through video, through photos, participating in Google Hangout, getting in the conversation with the bloggers and influencers on social media. Those are all tactics that need to come together to support one PR campaign.
That's funny, it's not silent, right? It's now,
Right.
it's whenever one piece of content, it used to be marketing's job to get that out. Now it's everybody's job to do everything, or to support it. But yeah, you just look when the content comes in, think who your audience is, think the biggest bang for the buck, and then you put your pieces together to create it.
On that note, though, let me ask you guys a question. I don't know, I have this question a lot. Should we, as business owners, hire a professional to help us with this? Is this something we can do on our own? Should we hire an agency, a freelancer? What should we do?
I think if you're a business owner and you don't have a background in public relations, I think it's a great idea to hire a publicist. And whether it's somebody who can be freelance on their, working with their own firm, those are usually the less expensive, or depending on your company, hiring a big corporate PR firm or somebody in-house, such as myself, as a director of public relations. But I think it goes a long way. Somebody who already has the relationships, who has the background, and somebody also creative. It's really important to come up with very creative ideas. For instance, last year, we had this treatment we've had for about 8 years. It's called the Puntamita Retreat, and it actually uses tequila and in the massage. And we haven't been promoting it in years, and Cinco de Mayo was coming up last year, and we had just, in the bar, started offering George Clooney's tequila company, Casamigos, and I thought, why don't we use George Clooney's tequila in the Puntamita Retreat, revive it, and we got press everywhere for it. And so it's just, taking maybe something that's a little bit older and giving it a new twist, but really, someone who can come up with creative, kind of out-of-the-box ideas.
And really figure out what you want. You actually, both of you said it, you don't hire somebody who doesn't know how to do the job. There's a lot of people who hire for personality, not for fit or for fit and function. Nowadays, you have to be able to know technology, you have to be able to multitask, you have to be able to handle a crisis, because almost anything you see on social someone else could consider it a crisis, but you have to be able to write. Mm-hmm. And if you need one person to do it all, you might want somebody else who can do editing, photo and video editing, although we tend to segment that out. But you have to find somebody who can write, otherwise you will be years behind other people.
And also, whoever you hire, make sure that they have that they specialize, so if you're a shoewear company, specialize in fashion PR, tech PR, because it's just, it just makes a world of difference in terms of their background and, the media contacts that they have.
Do journalists tend to, go ahead, sorry. Heather, do journalists, your experience, I'm sorry I'm going off track here a little bit, but do journalists tend to stay in their field? So on that note, if we're in fashion, does that mean we need to just, those fashion journalists will probably always be fashion journalists?
I would actually say not anymore, especially with daily papers. You see, I'm sure you guys heard about all the cuts due to budget and the whole industry. We work very closely with tech reporters who now cover music, business, tech, and auto.
Waiting.
Yeah, and wait tables at night.
I said journalists changing something.
Semi-retired.
When did they get to do that? Yeah, let's call it semi-retired.
So I think really building those relationships is important no matter what content they cover, because you never know. And everybody is a journalist now. Everybody's a content creator.
Everybody's a blogger, not everybody's a journalist.
Everybody's a blogger, yeah.
By the way, don't
Not
say
so
this
much.
in journalism anymore, it's entrepreneurial journalism anymore.
Yeah.
Just everybody knows the new phrase of how we're gonna call it, entrepreneurial journalism.
And then I would say also, for my perspective, I've worked with a lot of the same journalists, so many of them for 14 years. But they've jumped around to different magazines, but most of them have stayed in travel or in spa or, culinary. But somebody that may be just an associate editor in a small regional magazine is now editor-in-chief of a large national magazine, so you never know where they're gonna end up. So it's really important to keep the relationships, because I've seen it happen time and time again, where all of a sudden a small contact is now, editor, travel editor at Food and Wine magazine. So
How do you find your contacts? Are there any sources or, okay.
yeah, I use Cision Point.
Media databases.
Yeah, so Cision Point is the main one, and you have to subscribe. That's what Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts uses, and the previous companies I've worked with. And that way you can search for journalists based on the area you're looking for, the specific magazine. It'll list all the editors with contact information from every publication.
And we use Cision Point as well, but there is a subscription. I think it's a pretty hefty subscription.
There's also Focus.
Yes,
There's also Focus, and you can Google search. Some of these organizations will offer an opportunity for smaller companies to combine and bundle and share a subscription.
Okay.
But these can get pretty pricey. I mean, these can get into $30,000, $40,000 a year type of thing.
This is only for journalists?
No, it's a database to find of all the media out and bloggers out there, and you go in and you search by industry, and let's say you want editors-in-chief of major publications that do XYZ.
Can we share yours?
I don't have one. I've never used one. I have a whole different
She
situation.
has the biggest database, but
Yeah,
I think really not all, but a lot of media now will have their contact information on their website. So you can also just visit the website.
And Jigsaw has a subscription as well. But if you Google search media database, you're going to find a lot of tips and tricks, and a lot of people have looked at ways to reduce the costs on that. There are databases, but the website is the easiest way.
Or their Twitter bio.
Do you know
Yeah. Oh, Muckrack on Twitter is very good.
how
Muckrack.
often do they update that?
All the time. It's just continual. It's a company, so they probably have 500,000 names in it, so they just.
Do you know data.com by Salesforce?
Data.com?
Data.com. It used to be Jigsaw?
Oh yeah, I just said Jigsaw. Yeah, Jigsaw's great as well.
Yeah. Okay,
The
perfect.
one thing about Jigsaw, so Jigsaw is a database if you just wanted an email address, like if you're pitching the head of Microsoft in a particular division, you don't know how to do it, you can subscribe to Jigsaw and you can pull it down. Yeah, it's just like that, except for it's only for media.
Perfect.
And there's a new site in case for people that work in entertainment, if anything, called Celebrity Intelligence, and you can research who the manager, publicist. There's a pretty hefty fee for it too, but we just signed up for it, and it'll tell you what events are taking place around, what celebrities are signed up to attend the events, and who their publicist, manager, and agent are. So
Celebrity important.
intelligence.
Oh, intelligence.
Can we hear some personal case studies? I would love to hear personal examples.
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have two case studies, and I'll make them real short because I'll talk about real fast and
You're
then
one and a half.
I'll do 1.5. Okay, so Business Wire, my own case study. Because surprise, surprise, you guys, nobody writes about Business Wire unless we really screwed something up. Why? We're like a highway. We're just a pipe. We're a distribution company. Nobody writes about us. The last 6 months, I have placed over 70 op-eds in media outlets. 70. That's 70 articles that my team has written about our service, our industry, that we place. And the reason that people keep letting us place it is because every time we share an article, we get an article placed, I socially share it out across my accounts, Business Wire, and I share it for a while. And we drive so much inbound traffic in on these op-eds that people are always willing to take our op-ed. We have 5 publications that are a big deal in our space. All 5 will take our op-eds. And we all the time get, thank you so much, I can't believe how much traffic you got. You're the first story of the month. So that's my own personal one. Secondly is a company called Mofi. Totally telling the story. Mophie did a press release for CES. They went to CES. Mophie's an iPhone battery pack company, right there. Okay, it's awesome. It's awesome, but it's not new, right? iPhone battery packs, not the newest thing you've ever heard. CES is for new things. They issued one press release for the show, and they added a photograph. So the release distribution with photo probably cost them a little under $1,000. They had 30,000 views of that multimedia by the end of the first week of CES, or the end of the week of CES. To give you an idea, most people's views are about 300 to 1,000. So they got 30,000 views of a battery pack at CES, a show that had self-driving cars, right? A show that had robots. So why did they get so much coverage? They were one of only 5% of all people attending CES that put an image in their press release. So they got coverage. Reporters at the show needed information fast. The only way to write an article when you're at a trade show is as fast as you freaking can. So if you're going to a show, if you're paying money to attend a show, and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for a booth and not putting a photograph in, you're going to miss that opportunity. And that's the last hard sell I'll do, but it was just it's just a battery pack. It's not a robot, not a self-driving car. One of the biggest stories of the show, just because they did a photo. And when they use business partners. I mean, not just. And they work with you, they're not just.
I would say for our case study, 4 Seasons, we launched our restaurant Complete Modern Italian about 4.5 years ago, and it was the first time that 4 Seasons, any hotel our brand had created a destination restaurant separate from a hotel restaurant. So our old restaurant was really stuffy and formal, and the new restaurant is really chic and contemporary, and we really wanted to attract the local community, and so we did a combined traditional public relations campaign, email marketing, and we brought on our first social media manager. And I think altogether, it made it so successful that now it's been a poster child for the brand, and now we have about 8 other restaurants, not called Polina, but of the same concept, opening around, and we were named the first year Esquire's Best New Restaurants, and a full page of Rob Report, and all that online coverage. So I think altogether it helped, and it's still doing really well.
My case study, it's actually not from Sprint, because we will,
Even better.
yeah, we launch a product and we do get a lot of press coverage in general. So in my former life, I used to do food PR, and actually on the opposite end of the 4 Seasons, I did PR for Hot Dog on a Stick. For their 50th anniversary, we did a big PR push and we had several angles we went to the media with. One about the company's growth in the last 50 years, about the founder, and we did a road show with broadcast media. So we went to several morning shows in various markets around the country, and we actually had, you guys all watch morning shows, and they're typically fluffier news, unless there's breaking news, but there's often a features reporter. So we engage the features reporter, and we have them come to a Hot Dog on a Stick store and make corn dogs. And so that was actually, it was very hands-on, it was fun, and it was an opportunity for us to talk about the 50th anniversary. So that was really successful. We did this in 20 different markets.
One more tip, I swear I'll stop. Also, don't forget that, I don't know why you just reminded me of this, but you totally right. Don't forget to pitch on holidays. When the government, if you look at the newspaper, take the paper seriously, and then cross out every article that's related to government. And look at all the remaining articles. And remember that the days the government's offices are closed, newspapers have to fill that space. There's a lot of news in every single newspaper that's government news. Pitch people on the day the government's closed, and you'll have, especially with an interesting creative pitch, especially in morning news. They love it. Be ready, but they love smart pitches.
I agree 100% with that. But on that note, everybody wants to pitch around Mother's Day and around Earth Day and 4th of July, so it's very crowded. There are unofficial holidays like National Ice Cream Month and
Flag Day.
Flag Day. Well, yes.
We're pitching the alternative to Black Friday. If you have a story that's like you guys know about the famous chicken, the rooster that looked like Elvis that made worldwide coverage in the 90s if they pitched that story of this turkey that looked like Elvis on as an alternative to Black Friday stories. So every media outlet was looking for something other than Black Friday. So this turkey in the middle of Texas got global coverage because the people pitched him on the day after Thanksgiving.
It's very true. We pitched on National Hot Dog Month for Hot Dog Month.
What about giveaways? Should people send giveaways or samples to bloggers, or what do you think?
Yeah, on the company and the product and what it is. And we don't really ship anything, but I'll invite certain bloggers in for lunch, or we'll have certain tweet up events if it makes sense, but really be targeted. And the other bit of information is please study the publications before you pitch them and know what they've already covered, what they like, what their angles are. And I always send personal notes when I'm pitching them directly, so it's not so I would say, as personalized as you can possibly get and really know them.
I would say as far as giveaways, the one thing to think about is moving away from giveaways. Like Lenovo, for example, they give tablets, they give Samsung, they give stuff away to anybody. You're willing to tweet, you've got followers, and you're willing to do 45 tweets a day, they'll give you stuff. But then there's Google Glass. And here's Google that got everybody to pay $1,500 to be a part of their beta product test, exclusivity test. And that's what you should be doing. Don't just give away your product to other people, give away your product to fans. Remember, the highest conversion factor are when your fans talk. So find existing fans. Don't go out and just reach out to influencers. Find the people in your own audience, because then you get them to buy more money. And then the people they bring in tend to spend 45% more. I have a lot of stats on this, but that's my little recommendation is don't just give it to anybody, but find your existing, like people who've already purchased your product 3 or 4 times, give it to them and let them take it out versus a story, an article. You might get more effective press.
What if it's a one-time product, like or a one-time service? They're not going to come back.
I think then, obviously, I probably wouldn't give anything away. You could probably do, it depends. If you're trying for coverage and it's a one-time only product, that might be a little bit hard to explain that experience to the reporter in the sense that they would be able to write about it.
They want their readers to be able to get the same experience. So.
But if you're Dropbox and you want to give reporters, for example, a one-time subscription, you could do something like that. So I think it would depend on what your one-time product is.
I think to answer your question, offer an exclusivity. So people always want to be in that exclusivity, like Google Glass, or be the first. So if you have your tier 1 media or influencer that you want to reach, and keep it small. It's not casting a wide net. It's a very targeted group. You can offer them exclusive, and they feel like, okay, well, I'm the first person to try this new product out, or I'm one of the few. So it's like a limited time. I think it's also connecting with them, and it's an opportunity to build that relationship with them.
Yeah, we do relax over here.
Keep us quiet.
So do you guys have any best practices or advices for trying to get press on different types of events? We are doing a big giveaway. Giveaway really tied into a lot of the marketing we're trying to do. We're trying to get press on people covering that we're giving this thing away. So it's sort of specific.
So I'm actually just got invited. This is an interesting thing. It's the first time I've ever seen it. There's a blogger named Copy Blogger. This is extremely random. I have not seen this before, but I just got invited by Copy Blogger. He's a very large blogger in the writing space, and he's hosting his first conference in Denver, and he wants more press. So he actually invited me to come in as a media person. So I have to just pay my own way, and then I'm on site and I'll be live blogging through my own account. And so that was a very interesting thing that he handpicked a certain number, but we're all people he picked. One's from Business Wire, one's from Focus, one's from PR Newswire. He had a very specific demographic because he knew if we tweeted it out, then that would hit his target audience. So that's the first time I've ever seen an events type of promotion. With events, what I would do is make sure you know exactly who your target audience is to attend, and then look around and see what's relevant to them, and try to get them. Also, don't forget, it sounds so silly, calendar listings in publications are really big ways to drive in traffic. And then you can even reach out to the social channels.
What's a calendar listing?
Yeah. Like
Angelina magazine they have.
Yeah. It's a listing. It's like, or LA Weekly has like a listing of all the upcoming events in Los Angeles. Orange County, the Orange County publications have a register, have a calendar, like Times has a calendar.
The master planner is huge.
Yeah.
And BizBash magazine, BizBash.com has a great online presence, and they
What is it?
BizBash.
BizBash.
BIZ.
Yeah.
BASH.
And how is the calendar useful?
What you do is you add your event to that calendar. And so it's free to do. You just have to go to each publication site and fill it out on the website, especially if it's a community-oriented event. But it's just another way to get listed. We have found, obviously, a press release if you want, but, and then some people do Google Hangouts leading up to events, like they do marketing where they'll invite the speakers in for a 30-minute Q&A before the event. And the last thing I've seen done, we just did this for PRSA, which is it's the Public Relations Society of America, their global conference. Last year at the conference, I took the camera and I had everybody describe PRSA in one word. So I had Brian Solis, I had Leo, and I had Katie Payne, I have just all these people that I just saw that was like, take this, and now they're using that to promote the PRSA conference. And it's got 15 of the most social people in the country, and we'll be tagging them every time we share it out on social. Anyway, sorry, that's just.
No, and I was just going to say also, at the actual event, it's really important to have something really visual that people want to take photos of to Instagram and post on Twitter and whatnot. I remember during Art Basel, I was actually at the SLS South Beach, and we had some artists doing, they had like a large rubber ducky, but really interesting painted, very modern art. Everybody was taking pictures of it. So I would say wherever you are doing your event, to really create something unique and different that will attract attention and be compelling for people to want to take photos of.
Oh, and your event partners, write tweets for them and give it to them. Because that hands down, if you give me tweets for an event, you guys, and it's relevant to this social or PR in LA, I'll share it out for you. I love it, but don't ask me to write the tweet myself. And then obviously promote the hashtag in all your rooms, because people will then tweet it.
We have time for one more question.
We can give some free tools.
Yes.
For small to mid-sized businesses, in terms of, for example, a law firm, how many times a year do you think they should send out a press release?
It's whenever they have news. You can't make news. That's the problem. So it all depends on your coverage. However, you can create content. It no longer has to be you writing news, but you could do a white paper reporter. You could do an infographic of that white paper, and then you do a video infographic. Video stats are really, really popular. So what I would do is instead of thinking releases, think content releases.
And
you could do
newsletters
bios. You could easily do bios. You could do spotlights. One of the things we do at a newswire is we do employee spotlights, and those are really successful when we blog about it.
You went kind of fast, Kevin.
Oh.
What you said?
I forgot what
You said something about contract release, and you said.
Basically,
White
she was saying a white paper once a quarter.
Do a white paper, do an infographic, which is a visual representation of statistics. You can base that on the white paper, and then you could also do a video explanation. Remember, 65% of the world are visual, so if you're not making video assets, and by the way, this is the thing I'm struggling with because I'm such a textual person. I don't think in video. I don't think in images. I think in words. So it's hard for me to do that, but that's what I would recommend is instead of thinking of how many releases, and then you could do things like I said, employee spotlights, things that you're doing within your company. In law firms, what people like to see is kind of how the process works. So you could even do a flow chart. Do you need a lawyer?
We've been doing animated videos.
Yeah, that's great. That's all terrific.
And let's talk free tools. Yes, I saw that everybody got really excited when you said free tools, so let's do that. Go ahead, Kim.
Click to tweet. I already talked about click to tweet. I love it. I love Hootsuite. It's what I use for. I looked at your sheet too. We're Hootsuite girls. Although other people like TweetDeck, I like Hootsuite. Google has this thing. If you use Google Analytics on your site, Google has something called a URL builder. And that's what you do is you go to your web guide and you say, hey, I need a URL builder. And then it's a string of code. It's like XYZ T4712. And you copy and paste that. And then for me, I put it businesswire.com/ and I would add that extension. And then I take that and I hyperlink it behind businesswire.com or whatever links I put to my site. Then whenever anyone clicks that link and goes back to BusinessWire's website, I can track everything they do on our site. So if you want to track your ROI, if it's actually about what you're, remember, press releases, it's never going to be quantity. What you're bringing in is quality. So if you do news, you do blogs, and you get 14, 15 people back to your site, that's 14, 15 people with wallets out. I mean, you didn't just drive at anybody, you drove at real people. And now with URL Builder, you can track what they do.
You mean short URL, right?
No,
It's the same
URL Builder.
It's
I'm not talking about shortening links. I'm talking about a code that you put on at the end of your press
And you can
release.
track,
It'll track it. I'm not talking about like a bit.ly link. And by the way, if anybody uses bit.ly,
Yeah.
please remember that all somebody has to do is put a plus sign at the end of that bit.ly link, and those stats are public. So I have a competitor that loves to use bit.ly links in their ads. Now I know how Twitter does for my industry because I was able to track the number of links that it got, clicks.
good to know.
So that's bit.ly. So I Google URL Builder. If you work with Omniture or another one, but they're all called URL Builder. And then I like Google Trends to find out if I'm using the right words.
Well, Serena introduced me to Click to Tweet, and we use it to, and another feature with Click to Tweet is that it will actually tell you, there's an analytics tool where it'll tell you where your traffic is coming from, who clicked on your news release or your content, and where they went from there. It's pretty cool. Hootsuite and TweetDeck.
And you guys gotta use your analytics. You're gonna find that when you start looking at Hootsuite's analytics, when you start looking at, all of these things have analytics in there. When you start using URL Builder, you're gonna figure out exactly what you're doing right and wrong.
Have you used Sprout Social?
I have not, I know of Sprout Social, but I haven't used it.
Okay.
But it's another, I've heard good things about
Better
it.
than Hootsuite?
There's so many of these tools.
And Social Bro, does anyone use Social Bro
I
for
use
Twitter? It's amazing. Like if you need a really serious, it's way too much info for me to use it because it's too big of a platform, but it's free. You get incredible stats. And now there's tweet services where you can go in. I just searched for one yesterday. It's totally free. Can't remember the name. Sorry, guys. But you went in and you can put it in your competitors, and it will break down the Twitter account and tell you what keywords that they use all the time. It will tell you the 6 most recent hashtags that they use. So I was able to go in and look at my competitors and say, hey, we're kind of talking about the same thing. That's okay. Now let me move it here so I can create my differential. But just search free Twitter tools, and that's...
Yeah.
Free is so good. I love free.